All right, you can go back to the intro slide, Lau. Then we introduce welcome everyone. My name is Zilumkile, James. Everyone calls me Z. I am your facilitator for today, and coming to you live from Cape Town. I am the regional lead for IIBA Cape Town region. And today I'm with Lyle, an amazing guy, a teacher, an instructor, a BI and data specialist, and a person that is really passionate about it. I mean, from my perspective, having to watch Lyle speak about his passion about data and business intelligence is amazing. He's a teacher at heart. He enjoys knowledge sharing. He enjoys teaching and giving people nuggets and things that they can do, they can use to upskill and to elevate their business analysis and business intelligence, business analysis careers. So I hope you got to learn today. So today's webinar is about the career development of a BIBA, a BIBA, or business intelligence, business analysis. We know those are BAs like everyone else, but they get to specialize on data and business intelligence. And Lyle is going to talk to us about that today. And as I introduce Lyle, because I get a goosebumps. I get really excited whenever I get to listen from Lyle and listen to him chatting, listen to him share his knowledge and his expertise about BI. So Lyle is a senior business intelligence business analyst with an honors degree in information systems. He has professional experience in business analysis, focusing on the implementation of data-driven solutions. This has exposed him to the challenges and strategic opportunities associated with data and has kindled a keen interest in fulfilling these using industry best practices and best of breed technologies. His career has focused on solutions aimed at providing business insight and supporting business objectives. This includes consulting duties and experience in the healthcare, retail, and financial services industries. I hope you get to learn from Lyle today. Lyle is amazing, guys. Those that have time, please do check him on LinkedIn. He has so much to share. He shares with the world via Udemy by creating on-demand courses which are around BI there. Please do go check him out. I'm going to drop his LinkedIn link on the chat so that when you have questions or post questions after the session and you want to interact with Lyle, then you can do that in your own time. All right, before we get into the gist of things, Lyle, if you can go to the next slide. We'll just do a bit of room checks and go through our quick rules. Okay, so Lyle is going to go through his presentation for today, and then we will leave questions for right at the end. So if you have questions, please do post them on the chat. Post them on the chat, and then we'll go through those questions at the end of the presentation. And if it happens that we run out of time and you're not able, or your question was not, or you had another question that was not answered, please do. You can send your questions directly to me at Cape Town at southafrica.iiba.org, or you can reach out to Lyle. I'm going to drop Lyle's LinkedIn handle on the chat. And the recording for today will be available on our YouTube page. And I'll drop the link to our YouTube page as well on the chat. And if you are interested in becoming a member of the IIBA, please go to the iiba.org/business analysis membership. I will drop that on the chat as well. Or you can reach out to any of the IIBA board members or even me myself at Cape Town at southafrica.iiba.org. Or you can even check on our, follow us on our various social media platforms. We have LinkedIn, we have Instagram, we have Facebook, and you can check us out there and pose whatever questions that you may have. Okay, and if you would like to present knowledge that you're passionate about, like Lyle is doing today, please do reach out to me at Cape Town at capetown@southafrica.iiba.org, or you can reach out to any of the IIBA South African chapter board members. And also, if you want to know what we're talking about next, what our next event is, follow us on our platforms, on our LinkedIn platforms. Check us out on our Instagram and Facebook platforms. We post our upcoming events there. And you can also check it out on the iiba.org portal, where events are all located. Okay. You can go to the next slide, Lyle. And we are always encouraging people to become members of the IIBA, because there are so many benefits that come with it. And some of those include access to webinars, access to exclusive webinars that are only for IIBA members. It includes PDF publications, articles, and industry papers. So you get to learn and you get to get this information at your fingertips, and also information that you would not be able to get if you were not a member. And you get opportunities to interact, to connect, and to collaborate with IIBA members, industry experts from all around the world in business analysis and business analysis related practices. And you get exclusive access to the global community of BAs, educators, thought leaders, mentors, and coaches, instructors, and all. So it's so many benefits. That also includes a 40% discount on the globally recognized professional certifications like the CBAP, the CCBA, the AAC, the certification in product ownership. So there's so many certifications that you can do, and if you are a member of the IIBA, you get to up to 40% discount on those. And you get discount on conferences like the BA Summit, and as it has been advertised, that is upcoming at the end of October. When you are an IIBA member, you get discount on tickets to our BA Summit. All right, so those are some of the benefits that we have. If you have any questions, please do reach out. I'm going to drop my mail on my email address on chat. And remember, if you have questions, please drop any question that you may have on the chat. We will go through them at the end of the presentation. And thank you very much. Over to you, Lyle.
Hi all. I know it's a cold night for me. I'm getting pretty chilly, but I think it's an exciting time for BAs. I hope that keeps you warm, that prospect of being a BA. And I think it's an exciting time in the world of data. And what I'm going to explore is a business intelligence business analyst role, or simply just a business analyst in the data world. And we can look at what the role encompasses. We can look at trends influencing the data world. We can look at how you can position yourself if you want to acquire such a role, and how you can transfer your skills from another domain into the data world, into the BIBA role. So we're going to explore this exciting world. This will keep us warm. Now, IIBA defines a business analyst as an agent of change. A business analysis is the practice of enabling change in the organizational context by defining needs and recommending solutions that deliver value to stakeholders. So you are this agent of change. And in the world of data, it's no different. We need change. We need to apply data positively within the organization. Now, there's a high demand for business analysis, and we're going to look at how you can meet the trends in demand, how you can position your skills, and how you can look at yourself in a different light to meet these opportunities. Particularly, I'm a business intelligence business analyst, and this role involves working with data-driven solutions, working with reports, and meeting the needs of stakeholders from a perspective of providing them insights and providing them the means of getting that insight, or providing them the means of getting that information. So it's a very exciting role. And I want you to explore this today. We're going to walk through the nuts and bolts of this BIBA role. Now, as a business analyst, as a BIBA, for each one of us, there are powerful mega trends that are driving us. These are forces shaping business, society, and economies. Forces that shape our daily life, forces we have no control over. But you have to be aware of this, especially in the world of data. Forces like customer centricity. There's a strong customer focus in companies. Companies want to retain customers. Companies want to be close to customers. Companies want to have hyper-personalized relationships with customers. So that's a big mega trend that we see in the world today. Another mega trend is the need for increased collaboration. You may experience this in your teams, collaborating with experts across the organization, teams forming very quickly to meet a business problem or a business issue as it arises. So we see this hyper sense of forming teams, molding teams, and intense collaboration. We all know about agile. We've heard about agile. We've heard about agility in the organization. Companies want to be fast. Companies wanting to adapt to the industry, wanting to adapt to competitive forces, wanting to adapt to the needs and problems inside the company as well. So companies have to be agile. This is a mega trend we all feel, we all experience, and we all are aware of. Then another trend, you all have seen ChatGPT, the world of AI, the world of data. We see its effects all around us. And data in particular, it drives all those other trends we've seen, whether it's understanding the customer, whether it's making organizations nimble and agile, or whether it drives a lot of mega trends. So AI is big, data is big, something that's impacting all of us and impacting many facets of our lives. Now, you as a typical business analyst, you would do requirements elicitation and stakeholder engagement. It's a big part of what a BA does. And a BIBA, or working in a data environment, it's no different. You have to engage with stakeholders, you have to gather requirements, you have to elicit it, you have to understand what the business wants, what their obvious needs are, and what their hidden needs are. And you have to engage with stakeholders and take them on a journey. That's basic business analyst roles. It's basic things that a business analyst does. But a BIBA does some other things as well. They do things like data profiling. They may use languages like SQL and Python to really understand data, to drill into data, and to feel that pulse of the data and how it influences the business. So you get an understanding of the data to make sure it meets the requirement, to make sure that your solution is ready for what your stakeholders want. There's also data presentation, the way you present your insights or the way you present information to your stakeholders. You have to think about that. Present it in a way that's understandable, present it in a way that's simple to understand, because data can be very complex, and when you're creating a solution, you want that business buy-in, and you also want to show them issues and do some root cause analysis and present that across to them. Then we have data quality assurance. Is your data reliable? A BIBA has to monitor data, ensure that the information that results is reliable and that the insights are solid. Then we have data design and modeling. We build these data structures, we design them in a way that improves performance, in a way that ensures that it's secure, and we just follow best practice to meet the business needs and meet the business problem. So if you were to create an artifact as a BIBA, maybe something like this, you create a dashboard. And this dashboard, what it does is it streams from the NASDAQ, streams information from the NASDAQ stock exchange. It uses the Facebook API. So it streams from an online website, takes the data the business may want, and it monitors those trends, the financial stock trends, and presents it to them in a way that they understand. So if you're engaging with stakeholders, they'll have certain questions that they want answered. They'll tell you they want to know when to invest, on what particular day, in what particular quarter. They want to know certain trends in the fluctuation in stock price. And then they want to go from this high level trends, looking at the stock performance, how it performs when there's an open on a day, when there's a close, or between an open at the beginning of the year and the close at the end of the year. They want to look at these fluctuations in the stock price, look at high level trends, then drill down into quarters, then drill down into performance by day, and maybe even look at daily performance on a detailed level and analyze different aspects of stock performance, like the open price, the closing price, and the volumes of trades. So you build this, you present the data in a certain way that they understand based upon the question that they are asking. What is the business asking here? They're asking when. When is the best time to invest? When is the best time? When is the best quarter? When is the best day? When is the best year? And this is the type of solution you'd create in the form of a report. So this is data presentation, or a report or dashboard. But then you'd also look at the data itself. The data has to be in the right format. We have to have the dates in the correct format. We have to have the numerical information in the correct format. We have to have a certain quality of data. So that's data profiling. You look at your data, ensure it's on great format, to the correct quality, and make sure that the data fits the needs of the business. Other things we can do is we can create calculations based upon these data points. You can also profile the data to look at quality, use profiling tools. Here I'm using a profiling tool to see errors. We look at empty columns to ensure that the data is consistent and it meets that business need. Also looking at the amount of unique dates, ensuring that every date is populated per row, and then we have all these fields populated on that specific date so that it can be represented properly in that dashboard. This is a form of data profiling and data quality analysis. I'm using a data quality tool to really understand my data and really make sure that the format of data is correct and that there's no errors or no bad conversions of data, and there's no empty fields, and we have unique values as we expect. You can also do calculations. So if you are interacting with your business, you may interact with your devs as well, try to understand the calculations that need to be developed. The business will give you requirements. They'll say, these are the calculations we need. I need to know an index ratio. I want a division between the open and closing price. I want to see the fluctuation, subtracting the opening and closing price. So they'll give you the kind of logic that you need. And you'll document this in your requirements document, and you'll work with the dev, and you can build these scripting calculations. And that's an example of the type of calculations that we use to feed your dashboard. So this is just an example of the types of artifacts you would create as a business intelligence business analyst. We present our data in reports and dashboards. We profile our data. We look at columns. We look at the data that feeds these dashboards. We ensure that there's no errors. We ensure that data is consistent, and we ensure that it meets quality needs of the business. Other considerations include data design. Now we were looking at stock market information. You may store your stock price in a fact table. So fact tables store numerical information. We'll have an opening price, a high price, a low price, all stored in this fact column. And this will store all the numerical information we can do calculations on, we can use to form those numbers and the metrics in our dashboards. And then we have dimensions. So dimensions provide the context. Things like we can have a calendar dimension with our dates, our months, our quarters, our years. It provides a context for the stock price. We have an asset dimension. We may look at certain stocks. That provides we want to look at the price for a specific stock, and then we have different sources. We could source from Facebook, we can source, or Bloomberg API, we can source from Yahoo API, different sources of financial data. These are all dimensions or contextual tables, and they link to this factual table, numerical table. So this forms a function in performance, so that you'll only look at stock price at a certain day for a certain stock or from a certain source, and allows you to subset your data. So you're not looking at all the data at the same point in time. And when you're clicking on the dashboard, selecting that day, you're subsetting data that improves your performance. You're not chunking a lot of data and consuming a lot of data. And it also ensures data is consistent. So you're getting data from different points. It's linked up, and we can check the consistency to make sure that what you get in one is matched up to another table with these IDs. This is what we call an ERD diagram. It's the way we design our data, it's the way we model our data, this kind of artifact or document that a business intelligence business analyst would create. So like other BAs, we create documents, and ERD is a typical one we create to design our data structures. Then if you're working with data, another consideration is hierarchy. We want to know how data flows because users are going to interact with your data. So in that dashboard, that stock dashboard, the calendar, the years, the months, the quarters, and the days, based on the questions, that was very important. It allowed them to flow through different levels of time. And you may build a hierarchy. For instance, in retail, you may look at national sales, drill down to region, drill down to district, and have a nice flow for your data. So documenting hierarchies, planning how your hierarchy, how users will interact with the reports becomes very important, especially when you're working with dynamic visualizations and things that are interactive. So this is a kind of artifact we build. It's a hierarchy, and it's good for designing your interactions with your dashboards. You may want to do some wireframing, designing KPIs, showcase to your business the type of graphs you use, visualizations you use, work with them to build the visualization so they know what they're getting and they know what they're expecting. You can use Excel to do this. You can use a wireframing tool, or you can just build it in your data visualization tool and mock it up within there. So very good with engaging with stakeholders, ensuring what they expect or what they're comfortable is what they get in the visualization. For static reports, this is a type of artifact you'll create. The people will create different line items for the report. They will describe it, give it names, a display value, but then they'll have a field value. So it'll give that logic that we saw, the calculations that we saw. You'll describe it maybe in the form of pseudocode, saying I want to sum all these columns, or this column is subtraction of one column from another, or it's based on a condition. That's how we fill our field values. We look at conditions that be used in our reports. Then we have formats, type of formats you'll have for your fields. Is it decimal? Is it number? Or is it going to be a text value for that report item? This is something you can use for a static report, a good way of documenting it and engaging with stakeholders to build that static report. Now, those are what requirements. They're functional. They describe what the system should do. They describe how the data should flow, how it should look, how a report should look. And it's very important. But we also have non-functional requirements. Now, when people describe non-functional requirements, I often say it's how the system should do what it does. I like to think about non-functional requirements as the constraints imposed on the system. Constraints like performance. Your dashboard or your report has to operate in 2 seconds. The data has to be scalable. So we're designing it in a way that it can be expanded. We can expand that date column. We can expand that stock price table if we design it correctly. It is secure. Only the users who are supposed to access that data, access that dashboard, can access it. And it should be reliable data. And these are examples of non-functional requirements, constraints imposed upon us, imposed upon the team, and things that your stakeholders may not necessarily tell you ask for, but you know you should do as part of maybe your SLAs or your governance documentations or agreements. There's one magic word I want to talk about. It's called transferable skills. So you might see all these Bieber artifacts. You might see what the Bieber does. You might think you don't have the skills, but you can explore ways you can transfer your skills. You can explore ways you can adapt to the market and explore ways you can be flexible and position yourself to be effective as a Bieber, but also as a business analyst. Now remember, the skills you acquire as a business analyst, it's flexible and you can use it in many other roles. You've got that super juice, you've got skills that's very powerful. And I'm going to show you skills that you can market and will be useful even in our world of change. Now, our world has changed. Since COVID, we now work in remote teams. Our teams are disparate. People are working in a hybrid fashion. And it's changed the way we work. And some skills have become more important. Things like empathy, things like communication, things like building personal relationships. These are skills that have become important. These are skills for the future. These are skills that you have to hone to build relationships with your team, especially with team members that are not with you all the time. Some of them may be working at home, especially in the world of data. They may be sitting behind their desktops, and sometimes you have to put yourself in the shoes of the other person. They may be slacking for another reason. Maybe they're dealing with something you don't know. So these skills are becoming very important for a BA and a Bieber to act as the glue within teams. We see a changing landscape. We see things like AI changing our world. We see AI driving change. You see it as it's going to affect us all in some way or another. But how do you fit in this world? And especially in a data-driven world, how do you adapt as a business analyst? Now, a company called Exploding Topics, they did a survey, and Exploding Topics, what they do is they analyze social media trends, they analyze web trends, they analyze the hot topics being talked about in companies. And they saw that search interest in business intelligence has grown by 102% over the last 5 years. So maybe it's an indication of excitement about data-driven trends and excitement about data. Now, Gartner, which is a market research and consulting company, a global company, their research indicates that change is coming soon, and they predict that by 2030, 80% of project management tasks will be run by AI, powered by big data, machine learning, and natural language processing. So this is for project managers, but I think it applies to BAs as well. Many of the mundane tasks are going to be automated. Many of the administrative tasks, there'll be data points for their risk, costs, and scope, and AI can help in showcasing those risks, showcasing changes in scopes and timelines, and doing some of the mundane tasks for project managers. But on the flip side, Gartner has also said that project managers of the future will need to cultivate strong soft skills, leadership capabilities, strategic thinking, and business acumen. They must focus on delivery of benefits and alignment with strategic goals. And they need a good understanding of technology like AI. So soft skills, leadership capabilities, strategic thinking, business acumen. And I think that's applicable to BAs as well. Maybe in a functional role, but you have to see the bigger strategic picture of the organization as well. You may apply leadership on your initiatives, leadership, and be an advocate for your implementation or your point of view. And you need business acumen to be the glue in your company. So these skills are the kind of transferable skills that have become important in the future. We're going to look a bit at that. Also remember that AI can't solve every problem. You're not going to ask ChatGPT to build this building. And remember, a lot of these skills that will stand you in good stead are irreplaceable. So you have to be aware of them. Now, if you looked at this woman, if AI was to use an algorithm and try to predict or try to analyze what her emotion is, maybe it would say she's angry, or use points on her face, see the distance between them, and try to simulate what sort of emotion is being felt. But what if AI doesn't have enough data points? What about cultural nuances? What about facial expressions between different genders and different criteria? We rely on the data points for AI, and if it doesn't have enough context, it may provide bias in its interpretation. Now, use a BA, you have the benefit of not only using the data points provided, you can use other contextual information, you can use qualitative data sources, you can speak to this woman, you can ask her, what are you feeling? This is a benefit you have as an individual, as a business analyst. Then we have things like ethical and moral dilemmas in companies, and it's something they call the trolley dilemma. Now, if you think about ethical dilemmas, would you trust AI with things like protecting customer information, sustainability, with things like environmental concerns, privacy of information? A lot of these things, do we trust an AI system which may be biased, which may focus on return of investment with these critical elements or these important factors, and how they influence people and how they influence individuals? Now, an example of the trolley dilemma, which is a case where you have two different difficult ethical options, is this one case where a guy, he visited an apartment as part of Airbnb. So he booked on Airbnb, he went to this apartment, he stayed in it, and this place was run down, untidy, dirty. And he felt, look, I'm giving this place a 1-star rating on Airbnb. I want to protect others from the disaster of this apartment. But then he met the host of the apartment, old lady. She knocked on the door and she offered to deliver him groceries. She offered to go to the market, get some fruit. And she explained to him the difficulties she was going through. She explained to him that she was supporting her husband and she was really struggling. And he saw her plight and he felt, look, he looked at it subjectively and he said, look, I'm going to place the welfare of this old lady above all the other people who might use Airbnb to stay in this apartment. So he didn't post that 1-star rating. So he used his subjective viewpoint to place this woman's, to place her on this pedestal and to place her well-being on that, above the well-being of the other renters in that Airbnb apartment. So that's that subjective point of view that AI may not consider. If it's all about data points, all about return on investment, it's all about those 1-star ratings, AI might not be subjective in its approach, and it might be difficult for moral dilemmas. Now, AI has shortcomings. We looked at some of them: bias, context, ethical dilemmas. And for all these shortcomings, a BA has strengths. AI doesn't always have common sense. Those quick judgments we make, those assumptions we make, those things that we understand that any human being would understand, it's common sense. AI struggles with that. It struggles with context, understanding. You have to give it the proper questions, the data points, so that it can build a context. Struggles with handling a lot of tasks, bias, limited knowledge, accuracy, and the need for fine-tuning, and it's expensive. There's computational expense. Now, you've got advantages and skills that you can work on, transferable skills, broad-based skills that will stand you in stead for the future, and these skills are going to become more marketable and more important. Things like critical thinking, looking at a problem from different angles, viewing a problem from different perspectives, being able to interpret it and make a judgment. Communication, so that we can look at different sources of information, speak with people, get qualitative information to support the data that is provided. The ability to adapt to different situations, the ability to think conceptually, your business knowledge that you have and you've built up over time, your attention to detail. Sometimes AI may have some accuracy problems. You have to look at the output given, and you have to see if it matches what you expect and if it's consistent. And your efficiency, the ability to be organized and efficient. That's a big advantage. So these are advantages you have and things you can focus on to help complement the use of AI and to help set you apart in your business analyst career, and especially when you're working in the world of data. Now you may think, should I be a generalist, BA, a jack of all trades? That has its benefits. You can fit into a lot of teams. Or do you want to be a specialist, someone who is specialized, who's set apart, who has deep set of skills? There's benefits for both. I think the best option is a bit of both, something we call a T-shaped individual. It's got the best of the generalist point of view, and this person has deep set skills. Now, if you're a Bieber, your T-shaped skills will look as follows. So a business intelligence business analyst that have broad skills. You may have something like teamwork, leadership, communication, customer focus, research skills, and CBAP. These are broad skills, knowledge and behaviors that can be applied in different scenarios. This helps you become a glue in different teams, and something you can apply across different domains and different roles. Those are broad skills. And then we have deep skills, specialized skills, something that sets you apart in the role that you do. So for someone who works in data, the profile, maybe use a language like SQL, Python, to really understand the data and to really interrogate the information and feel that data, the pulse of the business. You may have domain knowledge like finance or retail, understand the business, things like data management, reporting, statistics, and data modeling that we looked at. Now, these are deep skills. Now, sometimes you think you don't have the deep skill for a role, but sometimes deep skills are transferable. If you worked in a reporting environment, maybe this can be translated into a business intelligence, business analyst role. Maybe it can be converted into a data role. Maybe you've worked in quality assurance and the controls that you use in a quality environment, maybe in Six Sigma, maybe you can apply that into a data environment. Maybe you've worked on governance somewhere else and you can apply that and transfer it. So you may have skills that are transferable into a different specialized role. You may have skills that you can mold. You just have to identify the skills and make it fit into the role that you want. So remember, there are job roles and sometimes they're very specific, but they're also competencies, and competencies are what we use on a day-to-day basis. Competencies are the knowledge, behaviors, and behavioral skills used on a day-to-day basis. They typically your broad skills, and then we have these deep skills that fit that job role. But often they cannot find all those building blocks, those deep skills for the roles that they want. So you have to market yourself, find where your skills are transferable, which additional skills you have, you can mold into the skills asked for the job, and where you're actually missing. Then you have to position yourself. So when you position yourself, a tool they always use, SWOT, for positioning a product, a company in a competitive environment. That's what they use, this SWOT diagram. You as an individual, you can do a SWOT on yourself. And we're going to look at that and show how you can position yourself into a role using a SWOT diagram. So SWOT diagram, you look at your strengths, what you're doing well, what sets you apart, what are your good qualities, what are your weaknesses? You know, things that you need to improve, things you don't have, skills you don't have, you need to build on. Opportunities, the goals you have, those mega trends we're seeing, how you can adapt to those opportunities, how you can improve yourself to meet opportunities as they arise. And then there are threats, the blockers impeding you, maybe in your organization, maybe in the market, and factors you cannot control. Things like maybe remote collaboration, COVID. Now, if you're a business intelligence business analyst, maybe this is how your SWOT would look. You'd have your strengths, your weaknesses, your opportunities and threats all listed nicely. And your strengths could be something like, especially as a BBA, you've got good data experience, good agile exposure, good financial knowledge, SQL, Python skills, and you're a solid business analyst. These are your solid strengths. But then, you've got some weaknesses. You haven't worked in many functional roles. Maybe you're not used to remote work collaboration. Maybe you have a lack of domain knowledge outside your specialization. Maybe you have limited customer focus. You also see opportunities for your career. Now, you know how to work with data. Maybe you can translate that into a data architect role, where you're also working with stakeholders, requirements. You just have to tighten your technical capability. Maybe looking at data management, more of a governance slant to what you do, consulting. Maybe there's some opportunities in tools like generative AI to do your stories, simple stories. Maybe you can build simple stories using something like Tshaped, but just be careful to monitor and check that story. And then maybe you can do some training as well. You know data very well. You're in a position to train. Then there are threats to your position. Maybe your organization doesn't have data literacy, proper data literacy, and that you don't blend that well in the environment. And with increased remote collaboration, you're not fitting in siloed teams. Maybe you can't fit in a siloed environment, and maybe there's a lack of data skills in your team. You want to be the glue in your team, but they're not quite matching your standards. So these are strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. So start of positioning yourself. You've just jotted all of these down. But then you want to take the best in you and minimize, your weaker points. You want to position yourself with the least amount of energy expended. Take your strengths and opportunities and see how you can leverage them to minimize your weaknesses and threats. So typically you take your strengths and you look at use that to leverage against your weaknesses. So a weakness was you don't have cross-functional exposure, but maybe you can take your strengths in data. You can maybe sell that across to another functional team. Your data exposure, you can play a part in that team and learn some new functional skills. You don't know remote work collaboration that well, but you've got good business analyst skills. You know these diagrams that we're looking at, you know the artifacts. Maybe you can look at doing that in a remote environment. Learn how to do those wireframes, ERDs, and communicate it online in a remote setting. Just master that kind of capability. So that's taking your strengths and molding it to mitigate those weaknesses. Similarly, you look at your opportunities and position them against your threats. There's poor data literacy in the organization. There's lack of data skills in your team. Maybe you can take some of that training. Maybe you can train people in data literacy, and maybe you can train them in data skills. Your strength, your opportunities in training, you can use that opportunity and you can use it to mitigate threats against you. Similarly, your data management, maybe that opportunity can be used for the threat of siloed teams. I mean, if data is the glue for those siloed teams, maybe they can work together in a structured way to align that data to the strategic objectives. So you using your strengths, you actually leveraging those opportunities, you're actually striving out to take opportunities, and you at the same time killing threats and killing weaknesses. It's a good way to position yourself, a good way to think of positioning yourself, to take advantage of opportunities and to take advantage of new roles like a business intelligence, business analyst position or role. I just want to finish off and say, look, the future is bright. There are bright prospects, and with the right spirit, a good positive attitude, with a good understanding of the forces, the market forces out there, good understanding of your strengths and weaknesses, your opportunities and threats, you can leverage yourself and you can push yourself and you can strive and do whatever you want in the business analyst domain. Just have the right mindset and can be flexible in your career. So I'm going to open the floor now to questions.
Before we even get to questions, Lyle, wow. Such an informative, talk that we've had. I learned so much. I hope everyone else learned as well. I'm going to go through the questions. I'm going to start with Bareng, who says, how important is the understanding of entity relationship diagrams, ERDs, object orientation, and data dictionary for BI business analysis?
Look at ERD is, I think, essential because you're building your data, you're structuring your data, and that forms the architecture of the data that's supporting your business. So it's the language that a BIBA would speak to developers, and it takes that business domain and turns it into technical terms, tables, and the relationships, and ensures that consistency and reliability. It's very important. The other one you said is data dictionary. That's important just for consistency, especially with things like terms. But a data dictionary is also important with metadata. That's data about data. So you have this dictionary, it describes data about the data in your organization, just ensures everyone's speaking the same language. So, in business you have, they have a financial language, a retail language. It's different. Some businesses have their own nuanced way they speak. It just ensures that all stakeholders are aligned, and make sure that if even in the report, if they see a certain line item, they see a certain description, everyone understands what is meant and they understand the insights that they see and they can collaborate. What is the other one? Object-oriented. Object-oriented diagramming, I think it's important, but I think it's a good mindset for your solution. It's a good mindset for scalability. It's a good mindset for building a solution that's robust and is scalable. But I think the ERD in its way is scalable, and I think it kind of has objects in its own form, entities and terms and facts. You can see those as objects, and we can see the relationship between them, and we can reuse and adapt them as we want and use them in different contexts.
Thank you very much, Lyle. Bareng, do you have any follow-up questions? Are you happy?
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
No, I'm sorted, ma'am. Thank you very much, Lyle. Wonderful, wonderful presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bareng.
I'm happy. Well.
Thank you.
I've got the last question right now. I'll come to think of it. In terms of career development, looking at the education, which is where you get certified, and then now after being certified, you need to get an environment which is quite good, which will actually nurture what you have learned because you've got a certification, but also the experience as well, so that you can continue deepen up your acquired skills. How can one actually get into the point of career development? Being educated is easy, but getting into the environment like a person who's actually, transitioning from whatever, environment that he's in and getting into business analysis or business intelligent environment, what would be your advice for that?
Okay, so you're saying from a business analyst environment, you want to go over to a business intelligence, business analyst environment?
Yes, correct.
Okay, so the first thing you'll look at what you're doing in an environment that, would translate into a BIBA kind of role. So, I mean, for instance, if you're a business analyst on a web system, or business analyst on an application, so sometimes, data supports those applications, data drives those web systems. There's different data structures. You may have some BIBA kind of skills already, and you must identify what do I have that would fit into the BIBA role. And that's the first step. I think the second step would be, just ahead of the time, try to prepare for that BIBA role that you want to get into. Maybe do pet projects in the environment you're in. Some companies allow you to do 1 or 2 hour a week to do pet projects. Maybe do a data-driven project in your environment. Maybe as a business analyst, maybe profile some of the data there, do some reports, and provide some value, even if it's on just highlighting maybe risks or maybe in Agile, the Scrum showcasing the performance of the team. Look at ways of doing data-driven insights in your environment. Look at ways of doing things that a Bieber would do in presenting data, but also look at ways that you'd use things like ERD diagram in your business analyst task as well. So look at other artifacts you can create, like that ERD, those kind of diagrams that a business intelligence business analyst would use, but in parallel to what you already do in your environment. A lot of times data is being used, but just look at ways of leveraging it.
Thank you, Hillary.
No, thank you very much. I'm covered. Thank you very much. And again, Lionel, thank you very much for the presentation. Great insight. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We have a note from Singa who says, is it possible to get the link to the stock trends dashboard? Lau?
You want me to share a link to it?
I'm not sure if Singa is asking for it. I'm not sure if it's something, maybe Singa can reach out to you and learn more about it.
Okay, look, if anyone wants to know how to create that stock dashboard, just message me on LinkedIn. I'll show them how to actually build it. I'll show you how to build it. So it just scrapes from the web, but I'll show you step by step how to create that thing.
All right, you heard it, guys. I dropped Lau's. I'm gonna drop it again. His LinkedIn tag, so you can just reach out to him on LinkedIn. Angela says, are there notes which can be shared? Angela, unfortunately, we don't have notes, but we can. We will share this presentation, which is the recording, on our YouTube page. So we don't share the stack of the presenters, but our YouTube page will definitely have this recording. And if you have more questions, also do feel free to reach out to Lau directly. And Dogozo says, it's a question to you, Lau. What is your opinion about agile software development for BI projects? Do you support employing agile methodologies in a company, in your organization or company?
Look, it depends on the context. It depends on the company. I mean, even in BI, sometimes going the old school waterfall, especially if you know the requirements and you know what to expect, maybe doing a disciplined approach is better. So that often happens when you know the requirements to a T. But when there's uncertainty and things change all the time, legislative change, people aren't sure about what they want, then you'd use Agile, use an adaptive approach. Each has its strengths and weaknesses. Each depends on the context. When there's a lot of change, Agile, there's a lot of uncertainty, Agile, but when you know upfront what you're getting into, you know upfront what is being implemented, then project management, which is very disciplined, can be an option.
Thank you very much, Lau. So we'll try and get to the questions as quickly as possible, just so we make sure that we don't run out of time. Lirole asks, do I need to know how to code or just basic SQL statements to be a Biba?
Look, basic SQL statements, it's good. I use SQL most of the time. Most of the time I use scripting SQL statements. When you go beyond that, when you go into actually building software, that's when you use a developer. But when you profile data, it's just doing scripts, to draw a representation of what you see in the data. Just basic SQL.
All right, then. Thank you for that. And then Ndabezinhle asks, I'm new to business analysis and was hoping I could get some advice on where to start. I'm currently a full-time business science student and would like to become a member, and I'm still saving for the registration. Please recommend resources I could use in the meantime to start developing BA skills. Do you want to take that, Lyle, or should I?
I think that's in your court, isn't it?
It is in my court. It is in my court. Basically, thank you very much for the question. I did drop my my email address. I'm gonna drop it again. Please do reach out to me and pose your question, and then I'll try and I will answer you and assist you after this session. So I'm gonna drop it again on the chat. All right. Rory CBC asked, been a BA for 10 years, and with the industry moving into BBA space, I registered with UCT and currently doing the business analytics and this should position me well with the transition. I'm not sure if it is a statement or a question. I think it sounds like a statement, right, Lau?
Are you passionate about data?
Let's ask Rory.
That's what I think is the most important ingredient. It's that passion. You're passionate about data. I mean, you push at it to improve yourself. You push at it to make the best out of it, and it will shine when you actually work in a data-driven role. I think that's the most important thing. And a lot of things you can actually learn these days. You learn in your own time. You can learn online. You can Google it. You can chat GPT it. You can learn. So the strongest driving force I find is people who are passionate, who are resilient, who've got that good emotional intelligence. So if you love data, you'll be successful.
Yes, yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Make it quick, Rory. We don't have much time.
So I think it's more about also the most of the industries, because I've seen now in the market recently, like the vacancies that are available, that they're now actually moving you into the beaver space. You need to have the BI skills and stuff. So it's not much as you love data and all that. Is the industry is moving that way, the market actually. So for me, it was just something that I was doing just to prepare myself, because I'm mostly doing contracting. So, to be more marketable, so that is why I ended up going to that space. But difficult.
No, it's a good choice. I mean, it will set you apart.
Yeah.
We did have some slides on market trends, but that will set you apart. Also remember that the role might not necessarily be called a BIBA role. You find that in business analyst role, all of a sudden, there's a need to understand data.
For sure.
There's a need to understand reporting, and you may not have to look for that role. It may just come to you that's a requirement.
Sure.
Yeah.
For sure. And thanks for that. But it was this is very informative. It's actually, very, very important, because I've been thinking and thumb sucking on questions and answers out of my own head as to how does one move from a 10-year being a BA and now moving into the BA space, but I think today you just clarified a lot of things for me. So thanks for that, guys.
Thank you for attending.
Rory, we're getting thank you from Maureen. Thank you, Lau. Had never thought of doing a proper SWOT analysis for myself and my career development. Thank you very much. We have a question from Singer again. As a BA, our roles are capable of linking technical and non-technical stakeholders as a way of ensuring any technologies to be integrated in a business can have business value be attached to them. With the need of a technical background increasing as BAs, is there a danger of being too focused on understanding technology and have your skills of presenting business value to non-technical stakeholders may diminish? Oh, this is a good one.
Look, I don't think it will diminish providing business value to stakeholders, but I think that it's not this molding of skills, business and technical. It's not necessarily only a business analyst thing. It's happening across roles. So like even with developers now, some of them have to be more analyst in their thinking. They have to be more geared towards what the business wants. As companies become more agile, people have to have a myriad of skills to fit into teams and to fit very quickly into teams and to work very well in those teams. So it's natural that people would want a business analyst with technical skills like profiling to work quicker and in a Bieber role to understand the data better, but also work much closer with the developers. And similarly with other roles, a technical guy like a developer, he has to have analyst skills, to be more adaptable and flexible in his team. You even find project managers now, they have to understand things like cost management in cloud systems. They have to understand how Azure works, how it computes cost, because that affects their project management budget. So it's happening across roles. Roles are blending and merging.
That is true, Lau. There is an increase in that. Project managers are technical, and they expect it to be technical now because there is a shift and a change in that. So whether it is going to take away those other skills, I don't think so, but it is an add-on. You can't take away something when you're adding something else into,
No, it's not being taken away, but it's just enhancing the value. So like, that business analyst requirements, communicating that value, understanding the value, and working with the stakeholders. You have technical capability, it just enhances the value that you bring. If you understand the data, it just enhances the value you bring across to the business. You understand the technical landscape, it lowers risk. You understand technical value that can be brought. It just enhances the general value that you bring. So it's an enhancement to what you do.
Thank you very much. And one last question for the evening. It's from Bronwyn. He's saying, you mentioned SQL and Python. Are these the definitive two languages that you see as being important for a BIBA? Are there any others? If I have some SQL skills, how important is it for me to obtain some Python skills to move into this role?
Look, I think SQL is the most important. I mean, even a lot of data scientists, SQL forms a lot of what they do. Python, it's emerging. I mean, I see it. Even the global IIBA conferences, I see them having, talks on SQL and Python, talks on data visualization. But I think start with SQL. That's a good start. And then maybe you can become flexible and learn a bit more about Python. Python helps a lot with analytical systems. It helps with quick POCing, building products. So it provides that flexibility. And it's also a higher level language. It's not as complicated as a language like C, but something that's designed for quick development and quick scripting and profiling.
And that was the last question and the last Q&A for the evening. Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you. Amazing talk, Lau. I am absolutely blown away. I'm blown away every time I have to listen to you. Just so you know, Lyle is also, he has courses on Udemy if you want to learn more about some data analysis and business intelligence related courses. Also, I dropped his LinkedIn again on chat to reach out to him if you have any further questions. And if you have questions for me, I've dropped my my email address on chat as well. Thank you very much, everyone. I hope you have an amazing evening, and let's continue learning. Let's continue upskilling, learn Python, learn SQL, learn anything, learn about tech, learn about ChatGPT and how AI can improve our lives, how AI can help us improve our daily tasks as BAs. So I hope you have an amazing evening further, and see you again next week. Have a pleasant evening.
Thanks, guys.
Good night, all.
Thank you. Cheers.
Good night.
Bye.
Cheers. Good night, Lyle.